Hello everyone, Cilantro here, bringing you a tutorial on how to start off your first day and night in a world of Minecraft. Now I've chosen this seed here specifically because it looks kind of desolate and looks like it may be difficult to lay in some supplies. I see some trees over there, but we're just going to kind of ignore those. The reason I chose this kind of seed is just to show that even if you have a rough start, you can still get a lot accomplished in your first few hours playing the game. So for those of you who have played this game before, this will definitely help you out because our first goal is to find a bunch of diamonds. But before that, we need to secure enough resources to allow ourselves to stay underground for as long as possible. So to this end, we want to get a few things done before the first night. We want to get a good chunk of wood chopped down, some of which we will be turning into charcoal as soon as possible, and the other bits we will be saving to make sticks, so we can make tools later down the road. I always try to save at least a couple saplings from when I'm up here on the ground in case I want to make a tree farm beneath the ground. Always good to have that renewable resource available in case you don't feel like ever going back up to the surface. A few other things that I'd like to find are 3 pieces of wool, if at all possible. 3 pieces of wool would allow us to make a bed, which would certainly allow us to control the time better. And the other thing I'd like to find is at least 1 seed. 1 seed will allow us to create a wheat farm underground eventually. So we're going to go ahead and make our crafting bench. With our crafting bench, we will of course make some sticks so we can make our first pickaxe. Hooray! Very good. Most people, of course, only mine in a few cobblestone, and I do not blame them. I am one of those types of people. So now that I have my 3 cobblestone, I can actually make a stone pickaxe. I would like to start digging a hole, which will eventually become my first mine shaft. So it's generally a good idea to multitask, if at all possible. This is going to take a little bit of time, but it'll be well worth it. And yes, I actually do dig pretty much straight down. I'm not afraid to do it. Hey, look, we lucked into some coal. Perfect. Actually, this will make it even easier. If you hadn't lucked into coal, you can always turn around and during the day smelt some of the trees that you get to make charcoal. We may still end up doing that just so we have a good supply of torches, but we are already burning daylight, so we must be as quick as possible. So there we go. We've got the start of our shaft made, and we are going to go ahead and start chopping up some trees. Okay guys, it's almost nighttime. I've spent the day trying my best to break a stone axe. Usually you'll be able to break at least 1 stone axe on knocking down trees, but not always. I was lucky and found a huge deposit of coal. If you're not quite as lucky as me, you can of course always smelt some trees if you would like, to get as many resources as you need as quickly as possible. So before I head underground, I'm going to make myself a shovel, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time chopping down my block. So even though I was in a pretty sparse area as far as trees are concerned, I was still able to get an entire stack of wood. And since it is becoming nighttime, it's time to go underground. So we should be getting pretty close to the bottom here, and hey, there's our first sign of bedrock. So let's make a few torches. And once you've hit the bedrock, place the torch down, give yourself some light, and dig yourself an area out just to make sure this is the top layer of bedrock. Our shafts have now been started, and I even put in some nice stairs to make the climbing a little easier. So I'm currently standing on height 5, the 5th height of bedrock. You can tell because there are no bedrock risen above this, and I'm sure if I dug down I would see plenty more bedrock. So from height 5 we just count up. Height 5 we just count up. So this is height 6 we were standing on, height 7, height 8, height 9, and height 10. So our first preliminary shafts have been dug in these directions. And we go up 3 more heights to height 13, again the height we were standing on. And we've dug the preliminary shafts here. So when we want to start mining, what you can do is start a shaft directly from where you've started walking up. So this will be the start of a shaft. Now you want to move 3 squares to the side and start another shaft. You can continue this pattern as far as you would like in this direction. I'm just going to mark off one shaft to either side at this height. So 1, 2, 3 blocks. We'll start marking this shaft here. There we are. So on height 13, we've got shafts every 3 that are completely lined up with our initial staircase. Down at height 10, what we want to do is we want to stagger against these shafts. So what I mean by that is instead of going 3 over, we're actually only going to go 1 over and start a shaft. We're going to also go 1 over to this side and start a shaft. So when we continue our shafts on either floor, we then want to space out with 3 blocks in between. So for our next shaft in this corridor, we'll want to count over 1, 2, 3. Obviously we have to dig this out, but here will be our next shaft. Oh, hey, look, some redstone. And same thing here. 1, 2, and 3. And here's our next shaft. Look, some iron. I dug this area out to show you a cross-section of what the shafts look like. So remembering that this was height 10, our shafts here at 10 are visible as well as our shaft at 13. The reason this method works so well is because the most common locations for diamonds are roughly within the 9 to 16-ish range of height. So since this is height 10, that means we have 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 way up there, and at the very top, 16. So the reason that this is so effective is because we get maximum coverage for relatively little effort. Let me place some dirt blocks showing you exactly what coverage we get. I've marked the shafts with signs, but covered them up with dirt just to show that they are in fact squares that will be revealed. So as we tunnel through these shafts, we obviously see the blocks above us, the blocks below us, and the blocks to each side. Notice that the blocks where there are not dirt tend to be very narrow corridors. In my experience, most deposits of any material are going to be at least 2 blocks wide in one direction. The odds of a complete deposit of diamond or gold or really any material being completely obscured to you are pretty slim. So the amount of time invested for the amount of area revealed I think is very well worth it. I'm now going to mine for about a half an hour using this method, and I'll let you guys know what the results look like. Alright, so I decided after having mined for about half an hour that I wanted to do another half an hour just to get a greater sample size to show you guys a little better exactly how well this technique can work. When I was mining, I also ran into a few caves, which I actually ignored. I wanted to get as much data as possible, so to speak, from my genuine mining experience, not necessarily from any caves that I had found, which may tarnish the results. So, this is what I found in an hour of mining. A full row of redstone, quite a bit of coal, not including what I found to use for torches. Of course, some iron, gold, 12 diamonds, plus 6 more, which I've used on pickaxes, and some lapis lazuli. Not a ton of it, but a little bit. So I actually personally prefer to use diamonds when I'm mining, and just in general for tools and swords, because that's really all it's good for. You know, iron can be used for buckets, for shears, for minecart tracks. Gold can be used for powered rail, of course, and is generally worthless as a gathering tool anyway. But diamond, yes, you can use it for armor. That is true that you can use it for armor. But personally, I find it's a little bit overkill when playing on most servers or even in single player. I've just gotten so comfortable fighting mobs through having played adventure maps and all that that I don't find diamond armor to be all that necessary. So I usually use my diamond for pickaxes and swords almost exclusively. But even with that, I still found 18 diamonds in about an hour, plus all this other resources, and a full double-wide chest of cobblestone, and some dirt, and some gravel, which I'm not going to bother showing you because it's in other chests around there. So not too bad of a haul, really, if I do say so myself. Now, if you're not a big fan of the redstone, if you never use redstone in anything that you do, you can, of course, skip around it, which would give you a lot more time to find more diamond, more other resources, and yeah, not too bad of a haul. So 2 other comments before I leave. The first will be, as far as the length of your shafts go, it doesn't really matter. It's kind of personal preference. Longer is theoretically better just because you cover more area, and the longer you travel in one direction, the more efficient your mining is going to be. Just every once in a while, you can kind of cut back and do a loop back, so you're not walking back through a tunnel that you've already cleared. You're always mining in wherever direction you're going. And it helps to dig out the starter shafts, the horizontal shafts here, if you will, as far as you can before you decide to do any of these shafts here, because what this does is it marks your territory for when you want to come back and come back around. You'll know that you've hit your starter shaft. You can also use the F3 button if you would like to mark your coordinates. Just be aware of where you are, and you can measure out how far your shafts want to be. So I'm approaching Z138, minus 138, so I can say, okay, that's my cutoff point. And as I'm mining, if I hit that, I'll just turn, dig another shaft, and head right back. So that's definitely another way to keep track of yourself. And the last comment is, I noticed when I was mining in here that I didn't really see too many valuable resources above me, which is the height 16. Theoretically, 16 is about as tall as you can go for finding diamonds, but the odds of finding a vein that's only above you and not to the sides seems pretty low. So as an experiment for yourselves, if you would like, you could always try to dig at height 9 and 12 instead of 10 and 13, and see if lowering the height by 1 has any positive effect or negative effect on your mining patterns. And I wish you the best of luck in doing so. So without anything else to say, Cilantro here. Hope you've enjoyed my guide. Feel free to leave any comments below, and I will see you guys around. Thanks for watching.